and it's like it's not a ticket to ride, it's a ticket to buy. All the endings, if you notice, all the endings, and there's only one D and I Want to Hold Your Hand, which is right at the end of the song. And it's a game you can play if you go on a car journey. We run out of time. Maybe. If you go on a car journey, this is what I used to play with my son when he's younger, in his early teenage years, sort of thing. Because I had to sit him down one day because he was like, in a way, disrespecting the Beatles. I had to sit him down. I said, you know, there's not many other bands in the world that have a completely different #1 track listing from country to country. You know, like the #1 listing in America is different to the #1 listing in Great Britain, sort of thing. And you know, how many songs, you know, how many dud songs does a band have, so on and so forth, and the statistics. They're the only band that has the honour, respect of having 5 contiguous #1s. Contiguous #1s. In other words, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on the Billboard charts in America. Even Elvis, with his 110 gold records, didn't do 5 contiguous #1s. You know, all #1s at the same time. In other words, in that week, you had 5 #1s from the same band. And they were, you know, I Want to Hold Your Hand, Can't Buy My Love, and From Me to You, and whatever the other ones were. So, you know, a lot. Oh, it won't be long or something like that. You probably, I mean, yeah. As I said, the execs, when they heard the American pressing of the, you know, it was going to be like the Meet the Beatles or what it was, with the Beatles, but the equivalent American version, as they pressed. It's about to go off to America, sort of, having listened to it. And of course, the track listing is different on there. It starts off with It Won't Be Long, and then it goes into Please Mr. Postman. So you go from the ending of It Won't Be Long, that, you know, high ending, to the Wait, and it's just fantastic. And then it runs into All My Loving, and by the time he got after All My Loving, he said to him, give him whatever you want, blank check. Because he knew it was going to be like multi-platinum. It'll be a forever million seller or something. Remember they used to do those albums of million sellers or something like that. And you go back to things like Riders in the Sky, Burl Ives, Riders in the Sky. You know, can you imagine? He was doing that back then. Was it the 1930s or something like that? Before the Second World War, he came out with this monster hit. You know, it's a bit like Irvin, yeah, you've got to get the spelling right. Irving Berlin's Putting on the Ritz. It's like a song out of time. It's like John Lennon's Double Fate, yeah, just like Starting Over. It's a song like it's 20 years before. It's sort of like, when it came across the radio, it must have been, what? It's all right. It's like a song that's come from the future. It's so, you know, it's like a song that. It's like, you know, you start a new trend, but it's like you've started a new trend. Oh, and you're listening to a trend that's been coming from the future, sort of thing. You know, it's like, wow. Because it had things like some of that scat sort of language that the trumpeter. Oh, I've forgotten it. Yeah, did you know all his masterworks got burnt, and a whole load of other groups and stuff. Yeah, they all go in some vault. So you have all these executives earning their great big salaries and stuff, and all pressings and reissues and stuff like that. And they didn't think to put in special vaults and stuff like that. You know, when I was working at the herbarium, we had 2 vaults. One was carbon dioxide, and one was halon gas. So if you got caught in the CO2 one, they told you just break a small hole in the window and put your mouth up to it. We'll get to you we'll get to you eventually. So you have to breathe right through the hole, but keep your mouth sealed so that the flames don't burn all the herbarium specimens behind you. And I think, well, why didn't you just make that sort of argument to the government to get a large amount of money to actually convert the CO2 one over to the modern halon gas version, so that, you know, you can be in the halon gas one while the fire's going, and you can also help put out the fire even though the doors are locked and sealed, but you can still breathe. Of course, you're also breathing some of the smoke, of course, so maybe you would have to break the glass or something and put your mouth over it. But, you know, That's the sort of thing I would do. You make the argument to the government and say, well, you know, we've got this old system, the CO2 one. It's a bit dangerous. If people get trapped in there, they will die if they don't get a supply of air or oxygen to them. Can we convert it over to the more modern one we've got? So, I don't know. It's a bit like that thing, you know. Everything goes past the front door gets a date stamp. That's the rule they tell you. But when push comes to shove, do they follow it? Do they? Yeah. Do they follow their own rules? It's a bit like what's going on in America. You got this two-tier system that's slowly either going to rip the country apart or lead to like a French Revolution style civil war. And I think that's what's happening over in France. They're on their second civil, French Revolution thing, but they're not really pulling it off. They've got to up their game. Think of the people in the past. Some of the verbiage that came out from the French Revolution, I think, is better than the stuff that's in the Declaration of American Independence and the Constitution and everything. Some of the verbiage out of that, I think it's better. I think it's a higher quality, actually. But then again, they were on the outside, whereas the other people were on the inside working out to get their freedom, sort of thing. I suppose you've got to grant them that, Whereas once the people had taken over in the French Revolution, they a great big yoke had been lifted off them. They could think more clearly, I suppose. But from the other way, they were being oppressed and having to ride all this stuff and probably not step on too many toes or something. We're heading towards a war eventually. But if we don't tread on too many toes, we can delay when they actually start, and we can build up our arms and our forts and stuff. So by the time the British get, we'll be ready. Whereas it's different in France. You've already had the revolution, sort of thing, and you're now having the 4 years of terror that followed afterwards, sort of thing, and doing all your thinking and writing of the future, post-revolution sort of thing. So I can see the differences there. But anyway, long story short, I don't know if this is part C and D or whether it's still running. But that was part A of the thing. I put it up here, in here, and put it there just to keep it upright, and I totally forgot it. I forgot to talk about it yesterday. So, anyway, you got a good little bit of chat there, and I suppose the next thing is to show you that little wet patch I got near the tap that drips about 1 drip per second. I think, we got 1 minute 30 left, so just enough time to finish off the coffee, I suppose. So, so obviously that R on there means a reserve or something's got a reserve. I don't know. I wiped a whole load of clips and then it tells me I've got a reserve, and I'm thinking, no, I've just wiped a whole load of clips. It's not a reserve. It's like, I don't think of a reserve that way. I think you've got your clips and maybe you've got a safety net amount of time on a thing, So like some of those old things I used to find, different brands would give you an extra 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. And I thought, wow, that's good, you've got a bonus safety reserve if you get the right brand of those old little SD cards or something. And when you start wiping things on the USB to put other stuff on, does it actually really get wiped, or does your memory slowly go down or something, and you get less and less and less room over a number of years, and you keep wiping things and putting other stuff on them. Eventually, I can't get anything on this thing, but it's a blank USB. And you can't put anything on it because actually it's all chockers with stuff that's been overwritten or something like that. I don't know. But I think about these things. I think a lot about a lot of things in various different modes. But I think we'll eventually get there in the end. I think we're heading towards something, and I think it's like anything. It's just how quickly can you bring the future into the present.